In this video, we'll discuss how to locate library research resources, how to develop your research skills and techniques, and how to get help when you need it. To find the library homepage, click Tools and Resources, and then Library. Roll below the photo and click Access Library Resources and Services. That takes you to the library's Resources and Services page. There are many things that could be useful to you here. I recommend you take a look at these other links that we do not discuss in the video. Let's look at library research resources first. You will find your sources in the library databases. Look for the databases link under Search and Find. That will take you to an alphabetical list of our databases. Narrow the databases by the topic area they cover. Since this is an English class and you're looking for literary criticism and sources, use the pull-down menu under All Subjects and switch to English. In this subsection and in any subsection using the All Subjects pull-down, you'll first see the databases that we think are the best bets for your research. Here, you can find many databases on literary criticism and literary topics, such as Lion Literature Online, Gale Literature, Gale Literature Lit Finder, Scribner Writers Series, Twain's Author Series, and others that you may want to take a look at. You can also find background information in some of these databases that can help you with the overall context of your topic. Some good reference sources for background could be found perhaps in Salem Press Online and Credo. To access any of these, click on the database link. If you're off campus, you may need to log in on this page. Simply click Go to Login page, enter your HCC email address and your password. Different databases will show you different features on their front page, but you will see some combination of search boxes, ways to do advanced search. Credo has a mind map where you can explore related concepts on your topic. You'll see some other things that are offered right up front, ways to narrow by types of material, and other features. See what's available and see how it can be of use to you. The main things you will enter are your search terms in the search boxes, and then you will decide how to limit the data in other ways. For example, publication date, journal content, literature criticism, etc. This brings us to a very important research skill. That skill is paying attention to the little things, seeing what's available, seeing what it can do for you, paying attention to how you spell your search terms. Did you spell things correctly? Looking at where the database will actually be searching. For example, in this database, if I put the author's name of Ralph Ellison in this box, it would only look for Ralph Ellison in the name of the work. If I wanted to look through the entire source, I want to look and see what's most applicable. If I click keyword, then I look next to it, it says contains these terms in key fields, but it does not search the entire document. I continue looking down here. Notice it says entire document here, so I could switch to that. Again, this is an example of paying attention to what you're putting into the database and what you're likely to get out of it. So pay attention as you research. It will be very useful to you. Now, so far we've talked about doing research in the individual databases. We have another way that you can access our databases, our Find It discovery tool. Find It looks at many databases at one time, so it can be a great way to jump in and start your research. Let's look at Find It now and practice some of the research skills we've been talking about. I'm going to back out to the Library Resources and Services page, and I'm going to go right here to the big blue box that says Find It. I'm going to start a search right in this box. I'm going to type in the author I'm doing research on, Ralph Ellison. I'm going to put it in quotation marks because it's a name. It has two words. Anything more than one word, a technique you can use is to put that phrase or that name in quotation marks so the computer will only look for those words in that arrangement. Ralph Ellison. They won't look for sources where the word Ralph is on one page and the word Ellison is on another page. That's a technique you do not have to use, but you can use it and see how it improves your search efficiency. Then I'm going to type the word and, all in capital letters here, and I'm going to add another search term. One of Ralph Ellison's short stories is entitled Flying Home, so I'm going to type Flying Home. I'm also going to put that in quotation marks because it is a phrase. So I have Ralph Ellison and Flying Home. Students ask if they have to capitalize the word and. That's a search operator. Technically, those are capitalized. There's and, or, not, near, and some other ones that tell the search how you want all the search terms to relate to one one another. Technically, they're capitalized, but I recommend you try it capitalized and uncapitalized to see how it affects your search results. Sometimes it has an effect. We call a collection of search terms and search operators a search string. So now that I have a search string, Ralph Ellison and Flying Home, I'm telling Find It, I want every resource Find It has access to that includes the name Ralph Ellison and the phrase or the title Flying Home. I'm going to hit Find It now. That takes me to a results page. Notice that I got 51 results on the author Ralph Ellison and the short story Flying Home. These 51 results will necessarily contain both of those search terms because I used the operator word and. If I had used the operator word or, I would tell the search I want either the search term Ralph Ellison or the search term Flying Home. But I want both in every resource I get in my research. So in this case, I use the operator and. So this is the basic search setup. We have our search string at the top with search terms and a search operator. We have some results. And then we have some ways to limit the search, narrow things to what you need. Sometimes on your browser, you may not have that column on the left. Click this word where it says filters up here in the upper left, and that will reveal your column because you do want that column. Notice in this way you could narrow down to scholarly resources, peer-reviewed resources, which are kind of scholarly. You could narrow down to just newspaper articles or magazine articles. Those are non-scholarly resources, but they could be very useful to you, depending on your assignment. You could narrow down by the age of the sources under publication date, and so on. You can look under subject terms for subtopics and areas where you may find some useful search terms that you could feed back up into your search. And I can go back up into my search string here, and I could do whatever I want. First of all, let me take off those quotation marks. Remember I said you did not need to have them, but they're a useful way to narrow your results and lock down any kind of phrase you may have as your search term. So I'm taking them all off. Notice I go from 51 results to 59 results. Not a big difference. And some of these results, the word Ralph may have drifted apart from Ellison, or the word flying may have drifted apart from home. So you can see it has some effect, but you'll still get results. Try it both ways and see which you prefer. I prefer to put quotation marks, so I'm going to restore them here. But notice I could review these results, and then I could look at a different search string entirely. Maybe I decide I don't want to type Ralph Ellison each time, so I might type Ellison, and I want to find out how does Ralph Ellison address race and conflict. So I might put race and conflict, and I do that search. This could be an equally valid search for me. It depends on what results I get. I could try something else entirely here. I could do, how does Ralph Ellison deal with the concept of self or identity? Well, I could go ahead and keep the first part, Ellison and then I'm going to use another technique that you can practice and see if it works for you. I'm going to use parentheses to nest related terms in here and in effect run multiple searches with the same search string. I'm going to type self or identity. In this case, I'm running two separate searches. One is a search for Ellison and self, but at the same time, I'm running a search for Ellison and identity. Again, try this. If it works for you, that's great. You can front load your search with a number of different search terms. If it's something you don't want to deal with, that's fine. You can run two separate searches. But I'm going to hit enter now, and you'll see now I go up to 3,055 results. And that's where I might want to narrow down depending on the terms of the assignment. Maybe since I'm looking for literary criticism, I might want to just throw that in here. Literary criticism. That will narrow it down further because now I've put an and there. By the way, if you use my parentheses, do not put the word and in here. You want the word or inside parentheses because the parentheses are specifically for giving you and the search an either or choice. So don't make a mistake and put and inside the parentheses. I'm going to hit enter. Now I narrow down to 209 results. At this point, I'm going to restore my quotation marks around literary criticism because I want that exact phrase. I'm going to go back over to the left and I'm going to limit down to 65 journal articles. I've peeled off newspaper articles, magazine articles, books, etc. Whatever you want to do or need to do per your assignment, you go ahead and use those limiting functions. And now I'm going to click on one resource. So when I click on the resource, it's going to take me into an individual database. And you see here, I have an article, a source that I may decide to keep. In this case, notice on this one, I can download it to the PDF. I could click all options over here and I could email it to any email address I wanted and so forth. Remember that you're going to need to cite the source and you will need to do it by MLA style. You want to look around. Most of the databases will give you a way to cite the information. Look for some type of link with quotation marks or the word cite. You can click that as a starting point, but you have to be careful of a couple things. First, make sure the database is giving you the correct style. Notice that this citation is in APA. So you want to click the pull down menu, go to MLA, and then that's the one that you can grab, copy, and put into your paper. The other problem sometimes you run into is that there may be mistakes in here in terms of capitalization, author name format, etc. I'm going to show you a resource we have where you can check your citations. Back on the Library Resources and Services page, look under Get Help and then click Cite and Write. On the Cite and Write page, you'll see on the left, click MLA Style. On the MLA Style page, I recommend you read and review the basic rules. That tells you what should be capitalized, what should be in italics, etc. Review the in-text and parenthetical citations page. That tells you how to give short form credit in your paragraphs for the sources. That points down to the full citations in the Works Cited page, which is the next section you can review. The Works Cited page, it depends on what the material was originally. In this case, we've been looking for journal articles, so you would go to Articles, and then look at the first two examples here, scholarly journal article, no DOI, scholarly journal article, DOI included. All that means is what type of link is at the end of the citation. So you can use those to double check and make sure that your capitalization, your punctuation is correct according to the style. And if you see any differences between the citation you grab from a database and how it should be here, and based on the basic rules, you can make those changes to your citations. Back on the Resources and Services page, under Get Help, there are research help guides. One thing in particular is the Evaluating Information link, a checklist of questions you should ask yourself as you evaluate any source. Finally, if you have any questions after reviewing this video and doing your work, please feel free to contact us either by walking in. Our physical hours are down here at the bottom under Library Hours. If you don't want to come into campus, you can contact us under Ask Us Chat. Click the chat link. It gives chat hours here. If this button is green, there's at least one of us logged in. If it's after hours and that button is red, you can go here to Ask a Librarian, file your question, and we will get back to you the next business day. I hope this video was helpful to you. I look forward to answering any questions you may have, and I wish you success in your assignment.